They don't notice it at first. They think he's just quiet or distant, or maybe just another reserved man moving through the room without needing attention. But then something subtle happens, an interaction, a moment of silence, a single glance, and suddenly they realize he isn't operating on the same frequency as everyone else. There's a depth they can't read, an awareness they can't hide from, and a level of self-possession they rarely see in anyone.
The longer they observe him, the more the differences become impossible to ignore. He doesn't chase validation, he doesn't compete for space, and he doesn't bend to social pressure. Instead, he stands in a kind of unshakable internal calm that exposes how chaotic everyone else is inside. His decisions are deliberate. His energy is scarce. His presence is heavy. And people feel it immediately, even before they can explain why.
If you want to understand these subtle moments, the 9 signals that reveal a Sigma male is nothing like the world around him, stay until the end. And before we dive in, subscribe to Silent Wise, where we decode the psychology of the unseen, the quiet, and the unstoppable. Tell me in the comments, when did you first realize you don't move like everyone else? People realize he's different the moment he stays calm in situations where everyone else reacts. When tension erupts and emotions surge, something about his stillness stands out instantly. While others rush to speak, defend, or panic, he remains unmoved, not detached, but deliberate, as if he's analyzing the entire emotional landscape in a single breath. People notice it immediately because his calm doesn't feel passive. It feels like restrained power, a quiet authority that makes the chaos around him look almost theatrical. In that moment, they realize he isn't wired like everyone else. He isn't swept up by the environment. He measures it, studies it, and stays centered within it. As voices rise and reactions collide, he becomes the silent point of gravity in the room. His expression doesn't flinch, his posture doesn't shift, and his energy doesn't leak into the storm. Instead, he watches patterns, tracks motives, and pieces together what others miss while reacting emotionally. This calm is not an act. It is the result of a mind trained to observe before responding, to understand before engaging. People begin to feel exposed under that gaze, as if he can see the psychological mechanisms driving their reactions. And the more they compare their impulsiveness to his stillness, the more they recognize the difference. But the moment that truly reveals who he is comes after the storm, when he finally speaks, or chooses not to. His words, if he uses them, are precise, measured, and impossible to dismiss. If he remains silent, the absence of reaction says even more. Either way, people feel the shift. He is playing a different game entirely, one built on clarity rather than emotion. It's in these moments that the truth becomes undeniable. He's not just calm, he's calibrated, grounded, and unshakably in control of himself. And once people see that, they never see him the same way again. They notice he listens more than he speaks, and his silence feels intentional, not shy. People pick up on it almost immediately. He isn't quiet because he's unsure, awkward, or intimidated. His silence has a weight to it, a purpose. When he listens with full presence, eyes steady, body still, mind engaged. There's no urge to interrupt, no need to dominate the conversation, no restless fidgeting. Instead, he absorbs every detail. The words people choose, the ones they avoid, the tone beneath the tone. And this creates an unsettling awareness that while everyone else is busy talking, he is gathering the entire psychological map of the room. His silence doesn't shrink him, it expands him, making others suddenly aware of how much they reveal without realizing it. As conversations unfold, people begin to notice how selectively he participates. He doesn't respond to every comment, and he doesn't reward noise with attention. When he does speak, It's only when something meaningful needs to be said, and the room reacts differently. His words land heavier because they are rare, distilled reflections rather than impulsive reactions. The contrast exposes how much others talk just to fill space. Meanwhile, his quiet creates tension and curiosity. People lean in. They interpret. They overthink. They feel seen. And through all of it, he remains composed, allowing them to show more of themselves than they intended. Eventually, the truth becomes clear. This is not a man who hides behind silence. It's a man who wields it. His listening isn't passive. It's strategic, almost surgical. He uses it to understand motives, gauge emotional currents, and detect inconsistencies. And the most striking realization comes when people notice how much he already knows without asking. That's when they stop mistaking his silence for shyness and start recognizing it for what it is: intentional control, quiet intelligence, and a level of awareness that sets him apart from everyone else in the room. They sense he isn't influenced by trends, opinions, or group pressure. People notice it the moment they try to pull him into the current of whatever everyone else is doing, and he simply doesn't move. While others adjust their behavior to fit the mood, the trend, or the dominant personality in the room, he stands anchored in his own internal compass. When the group shifts direction, he doesn't follow instinctively, he evaluates. When everyone seems excited about the latest obsession, he isn't impressed. He's observing the psychology behind it. His energy doesn't bend to fit the crowd, and this creates a quiet tension. People realize he isn't shaped by the environment. He shapes his place within it. His refusal to conform isn't rebellious, it's sovereign. And that difference becomes unmistakable. Over time, the contrast grows sharper. In group conversations, he doesn't echo popular opinions to gain approval. He doesn't laugh because others are laughing. He doesn't adjust his values just to blend in. Instead, he holds steady, and that steadiness exposes how reactive others are. People start noticing that he's the only one in the room not performing. While others mirror each other unconsciously, he remains unaffected, thinking for himself, choosing for himself. His independence threatens some, intrigues others, and confuses many. They can't tell if he's uninterested or simply above the noise, and the mystery only deepens his presence. As time passes, people realize something deeper. He's immune to psychological gravity. Trends don't sway him, emotional pressure doesn't manipulate him, and collective excitement doesn't pull him off his path. He evaluates influence instead of absorbing it, and this makes him feel unpredictable, unshakable, and undeniably different. They sense that his decisions come from a place no one else has access to, a private universe of logic, intuition, and self-leadership. In a world built on conformity, he becomes the one silent figure who refuses to be moved. And in that refusal, people finally understand. He operates beyond the reach of noise, crowds, or expectations. His direction is his own, and nothing external can rewrite it. They notice he sees through manipulation instantly, even when others miss it. People catch on the moment someone tries a subtle guilt trip, a forced compliment, or a carefully disguised power move, and he doesn't react the way they expect. Where most people get hooked, flattered, or confused, he simply watches with an expression that reveals nothing but awareness. It's not that he's suspicious, it's that his intuition has been sharpened by years of observing human behavior from the edges, not the center. He sees intent before words finish forming. He catches the micro-hesitation in a voice, the shift in eye contact, the slight tightening of a jaw. Others only notice the conversation. He notices the game behind it. And when he doesn't fall for it, people suddenly realize he saw it long before they did. As time passes, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. When someone tries to twist a narrative, he doesn't argue, he doesn't defend, he doesn't flinch, he lets the truth reveal itself. When someone tries to provoke anger or insecurity, he stays calm, and that calmness exposes the tactic immediately. When someone exaggerates, lies, or uses emotional pressure, he responds with silence that feels like a mirror. The manipulator ends up revealing more than they intended, unraveling their own strategy without him lifting a finger. Others look at him, wondering how he caught something so subtle. For him, it wasn't subtle at all. It was obvious, a psychological pattern he's seen 1,000 times. Eventually, people learn not to test him. Not because he's aggressive or confrontational, but because he can't be fooled. His perception is too sharp, his emotional independence too strong. He sees what people want, not just what they say. He reads the motive beneath the kindness, the insecurity behind the arrogance, the agenda beneath the concern. And without calling it out, he simply adjusts his distance. That's when people finally realize the truth. He doesn't need to expose manipulators. He makes them expose themselves. His awareness becomes a silent boundary, and anyone who tries to manipulate him walks away feeling strangely transparent, as if he had read their entire script before they spoke. They realize he doesn't need attention or validation to feel valuable. People notice it the moment they try to impress him, and he simply acknowledges it without being swayed. Compliments don't inflate him, and criticism doesn't shake him. He's unmoved by praise, untouched by social hierarchy, and indifferent to whether the room notices him or not. That's when people truly understand his value comes from within, not from reactions around him. While others subtly adjust themselves to be liked, validated, or admired, he stays exactly the same, calm, grounded, self-assured. His presence alone sends a message most people take years to learn. A man who doesn't need approval is a man no one can manipulate. And in that instant, it becomes clear he measures himself by internal standards, not public applause. This realization deepens when they watch how he moves through conversations and environments. He never competes for attention, never raises his voice to dominate, never performs to earn admiration. While others rush to fill silence, he lets silence sharpen the moment. While some chase relevance, he chases growth. People sense that he isn't trying to be above anyone. He simply refuses to place his worth in external hands. The more they try to pull him into validation loops, compliments, challenges, comparisons, the more they see how irrelevant those things are to him. His identity doesn't fluctuate with opinion. He walks through attention the way a shadow walks through light, unaffected, unchanged, unbothered. Over time, people begin to adjust around him. Those who thrive on attention suddenly feel exposed in his presence. Those who rely on approval games lose their leverage. And those who are used to being admired feel unsettled when he doesn't feed their ego. Yet the effect is magnetic, not repelling. His lack of need becomes a form of strength, a quiet gravity that draws in the curious and intimidates the insecure. People realize they're dealing with someone rare, someone who isn't performing, chasing, or proving. Someone who knows his value so deeply that no environment can inflate it or diminish it. That's when they understand he doesn't need validation because he already knows exactly who he is. They pick up on his ability to walk away from anything without emotional hesitation. People notice it the moment a situation turns unhealthy, unbalanced, or misaligned, and he simply leaves without drama, debate, or second-guessing. There's no emotional pleading, no long explanations, no hesitation pulling him back. His departure is clean, quiet, and final. Most people cling out of fear, fear of loss, fear of being alone, fear of the unknown. But he has none of that. His self-respect is stronger than his attachment, and his inner compass points forward, never backward. That's when people realize they're dealing with someone who cannot be trapped by guilt, pressure, or nostalgia. His walk-away power is not coldness, it's clarity. He knows when something is no longer worthy of his time, and he releases it instantly. This becomes even more obvious when they see him detach emotionally long before he physically leaves. Conversations become lighter, reactions become minimal, and his silence grows thicker, not out of anger, but out of truth. People expect hesitation, conflict, or emotional bargaining, yet he offers none. He doesn't replay events in his mind seeking closure. He doesn't ask why someone acted a certain way. He doesn't spiral into what-ifs. Instead, he processes what happened with calm logic, removes his energy, and steps out. And the absence of emotional hesitation terrifies some people because it reveals what they don't want to admit. He wasn't dependent on them. He was choosing them. When that choice ends, so does the connection. Over time, this ability reshapes how others behave around him. Those with good intentions become more respectful, knowing he won't tolerate disrespect. Those with hidden motives become anxious, realizing they can't manipulate him into staying. And those used to controlling others feel powerless when he refuses to cling. His walkaway is not a threat, it's a promise he keeps only for himself. Once people witness it, they finally understand the true backbone of a Sigma male. He does not leave because he doesn't care. He leaves because he cares too much about his time, energy, and evolution to waste them where they no longer belong. They notice he reads the room faster and deeper than anyone else present. People recognize it within minutes, sometimes seconds, because his awareness operates on a completely different level. While others are busy talking, performing, or trying to be seen, he's already mapped the emotional temperature of the room. He spots tension in the corner before anyone else senses it. He identifies the insecure one masking confidence, the dominant one overcompensating, the observer pretending not to care. Micro-expressions, tone shifts, posture changes, energy fluctuations, nothing escapes him. His mind processes social data with the precision of a strategist, not a spectator. And this quiet, effortless ability makes people uneasy because they realize he isn't just present, he's perceiving everything. As conversations unfold, his silence becomes more revealing than words. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't show off, doesn't push himself into the spotlight. Yet he participates in a way that shows he already understands the underlying dynamics. People often feel seen through, even if he hasn't said a single direct thing. It's in his eyes, calm, observant, patient, like he's several steps ahead, analyzing patterns long before they become obvious. Others may rely on what is said. He relies on what is unsaid. He reads contradictions instantly, notices who aligns with whom, and detects the emotional currents that shape every interaction. And because he never reacts impulsively, people feel exposed without knowing why. By the time the room realizes what's happening, he has already formed a complete psychological picture of everyone present. This depth of perception changes the energy around him. Some become self-conscious, adjusting their behavior under his quiet gaze. Some grow curious, wondering what he sees that they don't. And others become intimidated, sensing he understands motives they haven't fully admitted themselves. His presence shifts the atmosphere not through dominance, but through awareness. It's not that he tries to read the room, it's that he can't not. His intuition, sharpened by solitude and experience, makes him the one person who truly sees what's happening long before anyone else even suspects it. They realize he operates with long-term thinking while others chase instant gratification. People notice it slowly, almost with disbelief, because his entire rhythm contradicts the fast-paced impulses that rule everyone else. While others scramble for quick wins, immediate attention, or the next hit of validation, he moves with a patience that feels almost unnatural. His decisions aren't reactions, they're calculations. He sees steps ahead, choosing paths that build momentum instead of moments. Even in conversation, he's not chasing the thrill of being right or admired. He's positioning himself for clarity, growth, and efficiency. This long-term mindset sets him apart instantly because he never looks desperate, rushed, or easily swayed. His calm becomes a signal. He's building something bigger than the present moment. As time goes on, people realize his restraint is not hesitation, it's strategy. He passes on opportunities others jump at, leaving them confused until they later see why it mattered. He doesn't argue, he doesn't overshare, and he doesn't cling to outcomes. Instead, he invests only in what aligns with his long-term trajectory. When others burn out chasing superficial goals, he remains steady, conserving his energy like someone who knows exactly where he's going. And that unnerves people, because long-term thinkers expose the instability of those who live for instant gratification. His silence, his discipline, his refusal to rush, all these traits make it clear he's playing a different game entirely. Eventually, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. They see how his deliberate choices compound into progress, confidence, and internal power, while their own impulsive decisions crumble under inconsistency. They notice how he walks away before chaos traps him, how he invests in relationships that last instead of ones that entertain, how he builds skill instead of chasing praise. And in that realization lies the truth. He isn't detached from the world, he's simply not distracted by it. His long-term thinking is his shield, his compass, and his advantage, allowing him to outlast, outgrow, and out-evolve everyone who mistook silence for passivity. They sense his presence changes the atmosphere, quietly but unmistakably. The moment he enters a space, something shifts, subtle, invisible, yet powerful enough that people feel it before they understand it. It's not charisma, not charm, not dominance. It's the weight of someone who doesn't seek attention, yet commands it effortlessly. Conversations soften, energy recalibrates, and even the loudest personalities become strangely aware of themselves. His calm presence absorbs noise instead of adding to it, creating a contrast that exposes how chaotic everyone else actually is. People straighten up, adjust their tone, or rethink their words without knowing why. It's as if the room recognizes a different frequency, steady, grounded, and completely self-contained, and everything instinctively aligns around it. As minutes pass, the shift becomes clearer. People begin monitoring themselves, not because he demands it, but because his stillness highlights their own lack of it. Those who usually dominate the space start talking differently, sensing that theatrics have no effect on him. Those who hide behind humor or noise feel strangely transparent. Those who manipulate feel their tactics lose grip. His presence disrupts patterns without a single word, like a quiet mirror reflecting what everyone else tries to avoid. He doesn't posture, doesn't compete, doesn't chase rapport, and that alone forces others to confront the authenticity they've abandoned. By the time he leaves, the atmosphere he created lingers. People notice how the energy drops back to normal, how their behavior shifts again, how their thoughts settle uncomfortably. It becomes obvious he wasn't just in the room, he influenced it, not through power or performance, but through alignment, depth, and an unwavering sense of self. And when people finally realize how one silent presence changed the dynamic of an entire environment, they understand why a Sigma male stands apart. He doesn't dominate the space. The space adapts to him. When his presence fades from the room, what remains is the quiet reminder that authenticity still has power in a world addicted to noise. If his silence shifted something in you, if it made you rethink how you move, how you listen, or how you hold your own energy, then you're already part of the few who understand this deeper frequency. The question now is simple. When you enter a room, do you change the atmosphere? Or does the atmosphere change you? If you want to keep exploring the psychology behind silent strength, emotional precision, and the Sigma mindset, make sure you subscribe to Silent Wise and turn on notifications. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which moment made you realize someone wasn't like everyone else? I'll be reading.